How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. How much crypto do you need to retire in different countries? I want to cover that here today and talk about how you could actually look pretty well based on a very simple plan. Now, of course, some of these numbers are going to be arbitrary. I don't know the price of Bitcoin 10 years from now. I don't know the price of your altcoins 10 years from now, but we're going to put some numbers out there and show you what could be possible. Now, of course, you have to do your own research. This is not investment advice or anything like that. It's really just something to explore. Think a little bit deeper. How could you live 10 years from now if you were careful and dollar cost averaged into the market? Now, with that being said, a lot of people like these videos. Some people don't. If you like them, let me know in the comment section. Some people think that it's just like kind of worthless. They only want to hear the news, but I like to think bigger picture. I like to think, where could we be in 5 or 10 years? Because in crypto, it's so easy to look at the day-to-day to be worried, oh, Bitcoin's down 6% in the last 24 hours or something like that. But people forget that long-term, this continues to move up. I did a video like this just a few months ago. I'm going to be using a very similar spreadsheet. It's actually within the same spreadsheet. I came up with this plan. And since then, Bitcoin's price was $19,000 when I made this video like 7 months ago. And ETH's was like at $13.50. Now Bitcoin's over double that, and Ethereum's is $1,000 more, or $800 more now. Ethereum's price. So I just want to say that these numbers don't matter as much as the long-term idea of what I'm trying to get at. So if you like that, again, let me know in the comment section. Hit subscribe so you can see future videos like this one. While you're down there, there's a link to Margex, where you can trade on leverage. There's no KYC, there's no VPN. We're talking about doing a giveaway here pretty soon. They don't want people that aren't really interested in crypto trading though. Like they don't want people, like 100 people just to sign up just to try to get this giveaway and then stop using it. So I told them maybe just use the people that have already been on the platform that are trading. So if you want to get in on that, if it actually pans out how I think it might, you might want to get in now, sign up with the link underneath the video. There's a deposit bonus to give you a discount on fees, trade around, and then maybe you can get part of that giveaway. There's also a link down there to Blofin as well, which has over 270 plus trading pairs, and they also use Fireblocks. So that's one of the safest custodial services out there. They're also giving away some pretty big deposit bonuses. You can also get up to $5,000 in futures bonuses. So definitely check out both those links underneath the video. Now, as I said, crypto's price moves around day to day. We don't know what's going to happen, but long term, it typically moves up. Now, what I wanted to do was create this kind of spreadsheet where I can show you if you invested this amount and crypto does this, how much you can get over time, but then also how could you live off that in different countries. Recently, I did a video talking about how much Bitcoin you need to retire, like in the US and Australia. I wanted to expand that and include some different countries as well and show, okay, how much is the cost of living versus how much we would have in this scenario. Now, of course, I can't tell you how much to invest in crypto. I don't know. Well, first of all, I'm not an advisor. I can't legally do that. But second of all, I don't know your situation. I don't know how much you make. I don't know how much you already have in crypto. I don't know what your time horizon is like. I don't know what your risk level is, anything like that. But I want to set aside a plan or explain a plan that might get you to where you want to be. So we're going to assume that this is over the next 10 years. This plan's working over the next 10 years till about 2033. We're going to assume that you can put in a good amount right now, or you already have a portfolio of, let's say, $20,000. And it's split up between Bitcoin, and we're going to say Cetify, but really this is just supposed to signify any altcoin. I just use Cetify to kind of put some numbers behind it. In the last video, I just said altcoin price, but I was really talking about Ethereum. But we're just going to say you split your money up between altcoins and Bitcoin. So we're going to assume in 2024, you put in about $200 a week. So you cut down on how much you've invested already. And then we're going to assume that you put in $100 a week for the next, 7, 8, 9 years, basically until 2033. So you're still investing, but keep in mind that the prices are going to go up. So you're probably not going to be investing as much. Plus inflation is going to happen, and it will just be easier and easier to invest $5,200. Hopefully you're making more as well. So this is kind of this 10-year plan. Now we're going to assume that Bitcoin and altcoins move up and then have 1 year down, maybe 60%, 70% drop for Bitcoin, and like a huge drop for altcoins, maybe like 80, 90%, 95%, something like that. And then we have an up year, another up year, another up year, and then another big drop, 70% maybe, 90% on altcoins, and then we continue to move up. I realize this sounds crazy that alts could do a 100x or 75x, right, from today's prices, but we're looking 10 years out, and a lot of people are even more bullish than this. I mean, even to get to some of the old prices that we had on cryptos, some of these have to do a 10x. So you think 10x this cycle and then just another 5 to 10x the two cycles combined afterwards. I think it's possible. Now, we're just putting CeDeFi. I just put the name CeDeFi, but it can be anything with different prices. We're just going to say that they do quite well, right? And you could say, no, they're not going to do a 75x over the next 3 cycles. They're going to do a 40x or a 300x or whatever you want. I'm just throwing a number out there that I think is possible. And of course, you still have to pick the right cryptos. You still have to make sure that your crypto doesn't get taken away from you in the meantime and all that. Now, we're also not fully accounting for taxes because everyone's tax situation is different, but we're going to assume that you can invest half of this money into Bitcoin and then half into alts. So we continue to buy Bitcoin and alts year after year after year. You might change what alts you buy. You might sell out. That's something I didn't account for either. If you can sell alts at the right time and then buy back in, I mean, not too many people like to take profits, but if you do it right, you could make a lot more money than what we're about to show because honestly, you're going to have a lot of altcoins that will dump. And if you can time them right, you could buy back in at a much cheaper price and get your hands on way more altcoins. So we're going to assume that you keep on buying Bitcoin, keep on buying alts, and then eventually we're going to actually see how much we've made. So at the end, we'll have a total of about 0.52 Bitcoin, just assuming these prices, $750,000 Bitcoin by the year 2033, which again, that's 11 years from now, 10 years from now. That's not a crazy number to think Bitcoin's price could get there. And then we're also going to assume that you've been accumulating altcoins, again, kind of an arbitrary amount, but this is based on CeDeFi's price right now and where, it could go in the future, assuming we continue to move up. So the value of your Bitcoin would be about 386,000, and the value of your alts would actually be massive. So 1.6 million, again, that's mostly just because it's doing a 75x compared to Bitcoin, which does like a 15, 20x in this scenario, going from 42,000 to 750,000. Definitely not going to make you as much money as altcoins if they go up way more. Of course, some people like to take the profit on altcoins and then move it back into Bitcoin. So that might be another scenario. I'm not trying to tell you what to do in this. Again, I'm trying to give a lot of disclaimers. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not telling you this is right. I'm just trying to set out like an arbitrary plan, something that you could do. It's pretty simple. Just buy altcoins, buy Bitcoin, hold on over time. Eventually, it'll become worth more and more money. Altogether, this would be about $2 million worth of cryptocurrency. So based on the 4% rule, you would be able to spend about $80,000 a year. Now, what's a 4% rule? It basically is what people use in traditional finance to determine how much money you can actually spend based on your portfolio size. It takes into account volatility, market conditions. So a lot of people would not feel comfortable spending crypto 4% a year. Some people would say, no, you can only spend like 2% because it's more volatile. Some people would say, no, you can spend a lot more, like 7, 8% because it's done so well historically. So I'm just going to stick with the 4% rule. And let's look at different countries. Like we're going to look at the US, India, Thailand, UK, Mexico, and Italy, just to give a few. I mean, I had a couple people asking about India specifically. How much could we spend, or what would it be like in India? Thailand is a pretty popular vacation spot for a lot of the Eastern countries to go. Like a lot of people from Australia go to Thailand or go to Southeast Asia. The UK obviously is our European country. And then Mexico, big vacation spot for a bunch of people in the US and around North America. And then Italy, is another vacation spot, obviously, for people over in Europe. So if there's a country you want me to include, let me know. I'll include it in the next video if I get enough people talking about it. So I looked at the average spend for families of 4, and I had to add the rent. The website that I was using didn't include rent, so I included rent on the average cost of a 3-bedroom condo within a busy city. So it's a pretty nice place. Let's say you have a significant other and 2 kids, you would be comfortable there. And I'll show you what some of these places look like. So the average spend of someone in the US, which is actually going to be one of the highest on this list, about $73,000. So you're not balling out. This is probably a mix of the people that actually live quite well and they have quite a good amount of fun things in their house, right? Like golf carts, people that have expensive cars, and it's a mix of the people that live on, Social Security or disability. So it's like I said, people that are just spending the average. And that's not supposed to be a dig at anyone. It's just that there's some people that live very cheaply that are below the poverty line, and then some people that live really well. So you might not actually know that many people that live on about $73,000 a year, but this would be a modest house, maybe a $300,000 house, $250,000 house, or maybe renting a 3-bedroom apartment. You don't go out to eat very often, maybe once every couple of weeks, and even then it's not like a really expensive meal. You maybe get some discount clothes, you shop at the Gap or Old Navy as opposed to Lululemon, that kind of stuff. So definitely there are people that live on less than this that still make hundreds of thousands of dollars that just try to spend as little as possible so they can retire faster. So if you had, let's say you had that $80,000 a year for the 4% rule, the percent above the average spend would be about 9%. So maybe you have a slightly nicer car. Maybe you buy your kid a car for their 16th birthday. Maybe you live in a slightly nicer neighborhood, but you're still not balling out. Let's be clear. Like, you're not spending a ton of money. You're not going to have a $50,000 car, and your wife's not going to have a $40,000 car. You're not going to be able to go spend a bunch of money in your on toys or anything like that. But you have a nice life and you're retired. Keep that in mind. So if you were to work, you could just add that on top. So you could basically live off your investments, but maybe you do a little work on the side. Maybe you like mowing lawns or something like that in the summer. So you can spend a little bit more. You could have a really good life, really. If you were willing to work a little bit more, you could have a good life anyways, too, if you're just someone that doesn't really want extravagant vacations, extravagant food, that kind of stuff. So this is a nice scenario, though. You don't have to work anymore after 10 years of investing in crypto. Now, let's move on to the next scenario. What if you want to go to India? What if you already lived in India and you could invest this amount, grow your portfolio this large? The average cost of living in India for a family of 4, including rent, is about $21,000, which I was surprised by. That was less than I would have guessed. That's again with a 3-bedroom apartment in a city center. That's impressive. That means that you could spend almost 300% more. So you would basically 4x the average cost of living in India. That means you could live in a really nice condo. You could eat really good food. You could probably have a nice car or a decent car to get around. You could live really well, and maybe you live even below your means for a couple of years. Maybe you spend like twice the normal amount and still live really well, and then you can continue to compound your wealth, and then maybe you go somewhere else. Maybe you want to move around a little bit. Maybe you live in India, then you want to go to the UK or Mexico, Italy, Thailand. You want to move around. You can do that when you are able to spend so much more than the average spend in a country. Now, of course, with all these countries, there are people below the poverty line that bring down the average spend, but then there are also people above it too that bring it up. So you just have to take that into account. So what about Thailand? I think a lot of people from, I guess, all over the world like to go to Thailand to vacation. The average spend there is about $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year. Again, this is all in US dollars, but this is a good amount to spend. This is, again, living near a city center. This is eating pretty well. This is a house or a condo that I found in Thailand that's in Bangkok, so a very popular area. it's going to sell for about 8.5 million of their own currency, which means that would be about 240,000 US dollars. I mean, think about that. That's nuts. This is a 2,700 square foot apartment or condo, and it's so freaking nice. I mean, take a look at these pictures. I don't know about you, but this is nicer than my house. This is really cool. This is just really beautiful. So for 240,000 US dollars, you can live in a 3-bedroom mansion condo with really nice finishes. So that would be probably above the average spend for most people. That does work out to about, they also said you could rent it for about, I think it was $1,200 a month. But this is going to assume that you had rent of about $1,000. So almost that exact place you could rent, or you could just buy it and it would be a little bit cheaper. But you can spend over 2 times. So we're doing the percent above the average spend. So 120% extra would be a 2.2 times the average spend. So you could live extremely well. You could go to beaches, you could surf, you could go to tiki bars, you could do all kinds of fun things, live really well in Thailand. Let's move on to the next one, UK. Obviously, it's going to depend, all these places depend on where you stay, the finishes, but this is the average place in the UK. It's going to be decently expensive. I mean, compared to these other alternatives in Asia, it's closer to the US, but you can still spend about 27% more than the average family. So nicer car, maybe you go out to eat a little bit more. You can pay for a little bit more for your kids. Maybe you buy them a decent car for their birthday, stuff like that. Mexico. A lot of people in the US like to go to Mexico. Canada, people go to Mexico. People on the other side of the world wish they could go to Mexico because it's like their version of Thailand for us, or Bali. People always want to go where they aren't close to. So Mexico is definitely a place that people love to visit. So many different places that you can live in Mexico, but we're just going to assume the average cost for a family of 4, which is about $3,640 a month, or about $44,000 a year. So you could still spend 82% more than the average cost of living. So you're going to live in a nice area, nice 3-bedroom condo, pretty much do whatever you want all the time. You can go exploring. You could just sit on the beach drinking martinis or margaritas. You know, there are a lot of options when you can spend that much money. And then Italy, it's actually not as expensive as people think. Buying a house in Italy is expensive, but renting a house, actually, like in the countryside, it's actually much cheaper than renting it in other countries like Canada or the US. So you could spend a decent amount more than the average spend. For a lot of people too, they think vacationing or going to somewhere in Europe is really expensive, and that's true, vacationing is. But once you actually get there, it's not extremely expensive. Even we went to Rome recently, and you can get like a nice pizza for $8 or $10 US dollars. So something like that is a little bit of a surprise, I think, for some people. But overall, you can live well in a lot of countries, especially if you're willing to go outside of the US, UK, some of the more expensive countries. If you're willing to move there, or maybe you just want to spend some time there, right? Like, let's say you are from the US and you grow to have this massive portfolio. You don't have to leave the US. Maybe you sell your house, or maybe you've just been renting, and then you go spend 3 months in each of these countries, or a year or 2 if you have kids. Maybe you want to spend a little bit more time, so that's not like you're just moving around all the time. Or maybe you just want vacation in the summer for 2 months at a time. It's definitely possible. You can do that. And again, some of these numbers are arbitrary. I don't know your situation. I don't know what you're going to invest. I don't know where the price is going to go, honestly. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you what's possible. You have a couple $1 million, which is possible in crypto. You can get there. There are people that have been investing over the last 10 years that have gotten there with normal salaries. You can make life-changing money and go and spend a beautiful life somewhere. That is really the point of this video. It's not to give you some price for CeDeFi or some altcoin 10 years from now. It's to show you what's possible. If you want to see daily videos, you can hit subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this where I lay out what's possible if you invest and you do well over time, You can also see that on the channel. I have some in the past. I went through the Bitcoin levels of wealth. I'll put that one on the end screen. I really like that one, but maybe I'll do an updated video here soon, or I'll do it on some other altcoin. Let me know what you'd like to see. There are also links down there to Margex and to Blofin. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.